Tonight I'm going to talk to you about an important topic that you probably would never guess, because men don't talk about that. It's about self-love for men. I don't think anyone's ever talked about that. I've never ever heard a guy mutter those words. The problem is, so many men struggle with self-worth, vulnerability, and the idea of caring for themselves without feeling weak or selfish. I don't know if you've been called selfish before. I have. So you've definitely heard of self-love, right? We all have. It's all over the internet. And it's all a lot of women talk about. It's embraced by women, and it's never been mentioned by men before. You've seen women go have spa days, affirmations, read self-help books. I mean, we read self-help books, but theirs are probably called self-love. But what does self-love mean for men, right? We deserve that. It's been a taboo. It seems like it, because we're taught to be strong and stoic and self-sacrificing. And self-love for us is, I mean, it's kind of like there's this understanding that it's seen as weakness or like narcissistic or whatever, self-indulging. But women have this rich language and all these practices around self-care and emotional wellness. And what do they call these, getaways or something like this? So I got this idea today from a book, an old book that I found by accident. It's amazing. It's from an author called Erich Fromm. He's really an amazing writer and thinker. He wrote this book, short book called The Art of Loving. And it really changed how I think about love. Not just romantic love, but love as a skill, a practice, and a way of being. And that includes self-love. And so this book was written in 1956, but it's so relevant today. Fromm was warning us even back then that we were losing the ability to truly love, not just others, but ourselves. I want to take you to the book briefly. There were just a few areas of text that I highlighted I thought would be very important to share with you tonight. As men practicing a radically new idea, self-love. So he starts by saying, and I'm quoting him, "It is assumed that to the degree to which I love myself, I do not love others. That self-love is the same as selfishness." That was really, I don't know, that just hit me hard right there. It really is seen that way by those around, a lot of men, or you out there, who may be a provider, hard worker, generous, kind, giving, selfless, and by the looks of it, you've let go of yourself, right? I mean, ain't nobody thinking about you, not even yourself. So the question arises, is there a basic contradiction between love for oneself and love for others? Like, if you love yourself, you can't love others? I mean, certainly we see, I mean, women are doing amazing with this, right? I mean, they could teach this, but we're not learning. It hasn't been for us to learn, but that needs to change. So the question is love for oneself the same as selfishness, or are they opposites? I don't know if you've been called selfish before. It doesn't feel good. It feels like we're doing something wrong when we take care of ourselves or focus on ourselves. So is selfishness identical with self-love? For a woman, it's not, but we're exploring for a moment here what is it for a man? Traditional provider. And your roles are changing, right? I mean, everything has changed. Women have changed. So, is selfishness identical with self-love? Or is selfishness caused by the very lack of self-love? That's a good one. Good question. So, the logical fallacy, he goes on to say, in the notion that love for others and love for oneself are mutually exclusive. That's a fallacy. So, if it is a virtue to love my neighbor as a human being, he says, it must be a virtue to love myself, since I am a human being too. The idea comes from the Bible, right? Love thy neighbor as thyself. It's from the Bible. So it implies that respect for one's own integrity and uniqueness, the love for and understanding of one's own self, it can't be separated from respect and love and understanding for another individual. The love for my own self is inseparably connected with the love for any other being. So he goes on to discuss the basic psychological premises for this. And he says that not only others, but we ourselves are the object of our feelings and attitudes. The attitudes toward others and toward ourselves are basically conjunctive, right? They're not contradictory. So love of others and love of ourselves are not alternatives. And he says that an attitude of love toward yourself will be found in all those who are capable of loving others, right? So if you're someone who's capable of loving someone else, you're going to have an attitude of loving yourself. And he gives some treatment to genuine love. So he says genuine love is an expression, because in this book he says that love it's not what we think it is, right? This fleeting feelings and comes and goes. Like, love needs to be learned. He talks about love. It's called The Art of Love, right? So there's the theory and the practice of love. I highly recommend the book. But in this small segment here, so he says that genuine love is an expression of productiveness, and it implies care, 4 things: care, respect, responsibility, and knowledge. Okay? Care, respect, responsibility, and knowledge. So it's not an effect in the sense of being affected by somebody, but an active striving for growth and happiness of the loved person. So I encourage you to replay this last minute or so just to really get that. To love somebody is an actualization and concentration of the power of love. Blah, 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 right? It goes on. This is great stuff. So he continues to make the case for why you should love yourself. And I think it's important for us to do that, right? Because it's not enough for me just to tell you tonight that, women love themselves. They practice self-care, self-love. You should do the same. I don't think that would really sink in. So I have to give you a good argument because you're logical and rational, right? That's how we are as men. So this guy is this great thinker of his time in 1956 was writing this for you tonight. So Erich Fromm says, my own self must be as much an object of my love as another person. It even feels weird for me talking about this tonight. It's weird. You're a masculine man sitting here talking about love. But it's so important. Our roles are changing. We have to change with the times. Right? So you get that. My own self must be as much an object of my love as another person. the affirmation of one's own life, happiness, growth, freedom, right? To affirm your life, your happiness, your growth, freedom, it's rooted in your capacity to love. And remember, I told you what love was, right? The care, respect, responsibility, and knowledge. Knowing yourself. So, if you're able to love productively, you will love yourself too. So you can, and he says that you can only love, if you can love only others, you cannot love at all. This is so important. If you can only love others and not love yourself, you cannot love at all. Think about that. It makes a lot of sense. If you don't love yourself, how can you love anybody else? So he continues his discussion by bringing up some other points about selfishness. I think it was very important. It's very good that he discussed selfishness and unselfishness, because sometimes you may be called selfish if you are taking care of yourself, right? And somebody wants you to take care of them, or expects you to take care of them, expects you to be selfish, selfless. So the treatment he gives to selfishness, this concept is, how do we explain selfishness, which obviously excludes any genuine concern for others? So he says the selfish person is he's defining selfishness, right? Well, let's go ahead and do that for a moment here. Selfish person is interested only in himself, wants everything for himself, feels no pleasure in giving, but only in taking. We got that, right? He lacks interest in the needs of others, etc. So we're concluding that the selfish person is basically unable to love. Okay. So he goes on to ask the question, doesn't this prove that concern for others and concern for oneself are alternatives? Like, right? Concern for others and concern for oneself are unavoidable alternatives. One or the other. So that question is framed. But he says that this is a fallacy, because selfishness and self-love are actually opposites, right? I'm going to repeat that. Selfishness and self-love are opposites. And that was very interesting to me when I was reading that part of his book. So the selfish person does not love himself. He says the selfish person does not love himself too much, but actually too little. I had no idea. I had no idea what I know. I've seen selfish people before. I've been around them. I didn't know that they don't love themselves. So that was amazing for me to find that out. And he says the selfish person does not, in fact, he hates himself. Amazing. The selfish person hates himself. I had no idea. So this lack of care for himself leaves him empty and frustrated, he says. He's unhappy, and all these bad things. So selfish person seems like he cares too much for himself, right? If you know someone who's selfish, they seem like too self-absorbed. It looks like they care too much for themselves, but actually, it's an unsuccessful attempt to cover up and compensate for his failure to care for his real self. I had no idea. So next time you see someone who's selfish, you know that he probably hates himself and it has failed to care for his real self, and he's just covering up and compensating for it. So he says that it's true that selfish people are incapable of loving others, but they're incapable of loving themselves as well. Okay, so he talks about that, and he talks about how neurotic unselfishness is also another problem. It's like if you know anyone that's like, seems like they're completely selfless and don't want anything for themselves, if they live for others, they're unhappy and they have probably a terrible relationship. It's unsatisfactory. So he gives that example of like someone who's seems like completely unselfish, selfless, and to the point of being neurotic. And he gives that example to show that I don't know, this being paralyzed in their capacity to love or enjoy anything, pervaded by hostility toward life. Okay, so it's at the root of both his unselfishness and his other troubles. It's a great read. So those are a few excerpts I wanted to share with you. And I was hoping that we could reflect on this. By the way, I think you can buy the book, or you can find this text online. It's Erich Fromm, The Art of Loving. So if we were to reflect on this, you can ask just a few simple questions. You can pose your own questions. What does it mean if you feel like you're disconnected or unseen? What does it mean for you? And we can reflect on how men give to others, like their families, give their careers or employers, but you deny yourself the basic compassion. I see it often. I see it all the time, and I've been taking care of myself more in recent years, but I was in the same boat as somebody who just never even thought about self-care or self-love just a few years back. And another reflective question is, what would it mean for you to respect yourself, and not based on your productiveness, or your toughness, but just simply for being? It's a very interesting concept. Like I never thought about that. Like, respect yourself just for being, but not for being productive, or for being tough or manly or masculine, or whatever it is you're expected to do or be. So I thought, after reading this and speaking with you about it, like, what can I leave you with? What can you do about this tonight and moving forward? And I'm sure you can come up with a lot of other things, but I have just jotted down a few notes for you to take with you, take action on. So, and these are not in any order, right? It's just random, but you'll get the idea. So if you're dating or courting a woman, and this is very important actually, if you're dating or courting a woman, you cannot be expected to uphold the traditional male role. Your new male role, right? Your new male role, masculine role, the man in a relationship is defined on your terms, right? You define what your new role is, and it has to be respected. Women have defined their new role. You see it, you feel it. Women they have a new role. So you have to define yours, and people should respect it. Okay? Don't let it happen by itself. Be active in defining your new role. And it's okay. It's okay to feel uncomfortable and have to ask yourself questions, and how should you go about this moving forward? Who should do what? Talk to your friends about it if you want. Second, be more confident in negotiating or renegotiating the terms of your relationships. Okay? Be confident about it. All relationships now have to be negotiated. Doesn't look like there's any two relationships are the same, right? Be confident in negotiating them. the terms of the relationships. Third, you deserve these, at least these three things. They're important for me, and I think they're going to be important for you. In a relationship, you deserve attention, affection, and appreciation. I call them the 3 A's: attention, affection, and appreciation. And no, you don't do those for yourself. I heard a therapist once say that you should provide them for yourself and you shouldn't look for your partner to do it. That is absolutely false. That is it's rubbish. If you're in a relationship, you should expect your partner to give you attention, affection, and appreciation. Of course, you have to uphold your end of the negotiation, but certainly those are things that you deserve. And I'll move on. Number 4. If you're unhappy in a relationship, anything will be greener on the other side. I promise you. If you're unhappy and you can't fix it, we're assuming that you're unhappy and it can't be fixed. I think the grass would be greener on the other side. But I would strongly urge you to work on your relationship, to give it effort, and, right? I believe in doing the work and to making the effort. Both parties need to, but don't be afraid to be alone. That's a big thing, I think, that affects a lot of men. It's like they don't want to be alone, so they put up with relationships that they shouldn't be in. I don't know, it seems like we're getting into relationships, but I just think it might be useful, right? So we're talking about self-care, self-love, self-care, and I'm sure that relationships are important to you. So don't be afraid to be alone. And the big one here, I've talked about this before, take care of your physical health and your mental health. That can't be overstated enough. If I say this on every video, it wouldn't be enough. Take care of your physical health and your mental health. I see so many men that have just let go, and then they have no clue about why their relationship is not doing so well. Take care of yourself, okay? Mental health is big. I think that is the number one problem facing men globally, mental health issues. Take care of your mental health and seek support without being embarrassed or shamed or feeling ashamed. Like, go get some help. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great thing. Get some help. Make sure that I'll do another video. Actually, I want to do a video about getting good therapy, right? So I'll do something in the future about that. And be outspoken about your needs. I think it's self-explanatory. The last thing I will share here about things you can take action on is, what's that Delphic maxim? It's one of the 3 things transcribed on the Temple of Apollo in ancient Greece. One of them is know thyself. That is so important. To know yourself. I mean, I am 48. It's no secret, and I've spent all my 40s getting to know myself. I had no idea before that. I thought I did, but knowing yourself is crucial. Peeling off the layers, and it's amazing. I see like 20-year-old, 21-year-old people that think they know it all, and if I look back at the guy I was when I knew nothing. So knowing yourself is crucial, and it's only when you know yourself that you can know somebody else. And it's really amazing when that starts to happen. So take time to reflect, to introspect, do the work. If you have help, great. If you don't help, you can still help yourself. So I think we're going to wrap it up now, and I would just leave you with a final remark that it's not soft to love yourself, and I think it's courageous, and it is a masculine thing that you can do in a world that keeps telling you to keep going until you break. And I mean, I see everything that's going on online, all these memes, right? Men just have to take all the beating in the world and all these burdens and have to take it and be the best and all that. Love yourself. That so I'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts about this. And we need to change. We need to change what we're doing. So please like the video and subscribe to my channel. And if you thought this was useful, if you can help somebody by sharing it with them, that would be great.